If you are hearing this right now, I need you to understand something. This is not a coincidence. There's a reason you clicked on this video, a reason you are here at this exact moment. What if I told you there are clear signs that your soul might be in danger? That some people, without even realizing it, are already marked for condemnation? Would you ignore it, or would you stop and listen? Because what I'm about to share could change everything. Deep inside you, something is calling out. You might not even be able to explain it, but something in your spirit knows this message is meant for you. Maybe you felt a sense of unease lately, like something is shifting in the world, like there's a battle going on that you can't quite see, but can definitely feel. Maybe you've had moments where you've questioned everything, wondering if you're truly walking the right path. Or maybe, if you're being honest, you've been feeling distant, disconnected, as if something is pulling you away from your faith, from your purpose, from the truth. Let me tell you, this spiritual warfare is real. The battle for your soul is happening every single day, whether you realize it or not. There are forces at work, unseen but powerful, trying to lead you away from your divine calling. And sometimes, the most dangerous part is that these signs don't come with loud warnings or flashing lights. They creep in slowly, silently, wrapping around your life in ways that feel normal, even comfortable, until one day you wake up and realize you've drifted so far that you don't even recognize yourself anymore. But here's the good news: you are here. You are hearing this, and that means there is still time. There is still hope. If God has brought you to this message today, it's because He is trying to get your attention. And I need you to stay with me, to listen closely, because what I'm about to share could be the wake-up call your soul has been waiting for. But before we go any further, I need you to do something. Drop a comment below and declare with faith, "God is my salvation." Say it out loud, type it in the comments, because when you speak truth, you align yourself with it. When you declare God's salvation over your life, you are making a statement, not just to yourself, but to the spiritual forces around you, that you belong to Him, that your soul is not for sale, that you will not be led astray. Now, let me ask you this. Have you ever felt like something was holding you back? Like no matter how much you try to move forward in your faith, something keeps pulling you in the opposite direction? Have you ever caught yourself justifying things that deep down, aren't right? Have you ever felt numb, like the fire you once had for God has started to fade, and you don't even know why? These are not random feelings. These are warning signs, and if you recognize any of them, you cannot afford to ignore them. The enemy does not come after those who are already lost. He comes after those who have a calling, those who have a purpose, those who have a light inside them that he wants to extinguish. He doesn't need to destroy you all at once. All he needs is for you to let your guard down, to become comfortable with compromise, to stop paying attention. Because the moment you stop fighting for your faith, the moment you stop being intentional about your spiritual life, is the moment you start slipping away. But listen to me, God does not abandon His people. No matter how far you feel, no matter how lost you think you are, there's always a way back. There is always grace, always redemption, always a chance to turn things around. And that's why you are here right now. That's why this message found you, because your soul is precious. Your life has meaning. And God is calling you back before it's too late. So, I need you to make a decision today. Will you keep ignoring the signs? Will you keep pushing that feeling aside, telling yourself it's nothing? Or will you wake up? Will you open your eyes and see what is happening around you, what is happening inside you? Will you take this moment as the warning it is, as the invitation it is? Because let me tell you something, God does not force anyone to follow Him. He calls, He warns, He reaches out, but in the end, it is up to you to answer. And that's why I'm asking you, are you ready to fight for your soul? Are you ready to recognize the signs, to take action, to reclaim your faith before it's too late. Because the choice is yours. But if you're still here, if you're still listening, I believe that deep down, you already know the answer. So, again, I want you to declare it in the comments. God is my salvation. Say it with faith, say it with conviction. Because when you take that first step, when you claim His name over your life, you open the door for change, for renewal, for restoration. And now, it's time to reveal the signs that too many people overlook. Signs that could determine the destiny of your soul. Stay with me, because what I'm about to share might be the most important thing you hear today. If you're still here, listening to this message, it means something inside you is searching for truth. And I need you to hear me when I say this. God gives us signs every single day. Some are subtle, like a whisper in the wind, a feeling deep in your spirit that something isn't right. Others are loud, undeniable, moments that shake your world and force you to stop and pay attention. But here's the truth, not everyone sees them, not everyone listens, and not everyone chooses to respond. The chosen ones, they are different. They feel it. They sense when something is off, when God is speaking, when life is nudging them in a direction they don't fully understand yet. But even the chosen ones can ignore the signs. Even those who are called can drift away if they're not careful. Because with every warning, there's also a test. And the question is, are you paying attention? Are you truly listening to what God is trying to tell you? Or are you letting distractions, doubts, and the noise of the world drown out His voice? Think about this. Throughout history, there have been people who received clear signs from God, but still chose to ignore them. They had every chance to change, every opportunity to turn back, and yet, they didn't, and the consequences were devastating. Let's talk about Saul. He was chosen by God to be king. He had favor, he had power, he had everything he needed to lead with strength and wisdom. But what happened? He ignored the signs. He let pride, fear, and his own desires take over. God warned him. He gave him chances. He sent prophets to guide him. But Saul refused to listen. And because of that, he lost everything. His kingdom, his peace, his connection with God, it all fell apart because he ignored the signs. Or look at Judas. He walked with Jesus. He saw miracles with his own eyes. He heard the truth straight from the Son of God. And yet, when the moment of testing came, he chose to betray the very one who could save him. And here's the part that haunts me. Judas had warnings. He had moments where he could have turned back. Jesus knew what was coming. He even said it at the Last Supper, giving Judas a final chance to repent. But Judas had already made his choice. He had already let himself be consumed by something darker, and by the time he realized the weight of what he had done, it was too late. And now I have to ask you, how many times has God tried to warn you? How many times has He sent a message? Through a person, a situation, a conviction in your heart, and you pushed it aside? How many times have you felt that tug in your spirit, telling you to change, to walk away from something, to let go of that habit, that relationship, that mindset that's leading you away from Him? And instead of listening, you brushed it off. These signs are not random. They are not coincidences. They are God's way of reaching for you before it's too late. And the worst thing you can do is ignore them. Because here's what happens when you keep ignoring the signs. You start becoming numb. The things that once convicted you, they don't bother you as much anymore. The little voice inside you that once made you question your actions, it gets quieter and quieter until one day you don't hear it at all. And by the time you wake up and realize how far you've drifted, sometimes the damage is already done. That's why I'm speaking to you now. Because if you're still hearing this, there is still time. If you feel that pull inside, if something in your spirit is stirring right now, it means God is still calling you. He is still reaching for you. He is still giving you a chance to wake up before it's too So let me ask you, what are the signs in your life right now? What has been happening around you that you've been trying to ignore? Maybe doors keep closing, and you don't understand why. Maybe you keep feeling restless, like no matter what you do, something isn't right. Maybe certain people or situations keep coming up, and you don't know what it means, but deep down, you feel like it's more than just coincidence. I need you to stop running. Stop pretending that these signs don't mean anything. They do. They are a wake-up call for your soul. A call to turn back before you end up on a path you were never meant to walk. Because the truth is, the enemy is patient. He doesn't need to pull you away from God in one big, obvious moment. He just needs you to ignore the signs. He just needs you to become comfortable in your distance, to convince yourself that nothing is wrong, to make you believe that you have all the time in the world, but you don't. That's why you're here. That's why you're hearing this right now. God doesn't send messages for no reason. And this one? This is for you. So I need you to listen. I need you to take this seriously. Because in just a moment, I'm going to reveal the specific signs, the ones that too many people overlook, the ones that are warning lights flashing in your life right now. And when you hear them, I need you to be honest with yourself. I need you to recognize them. I need you to decide, will you keep ignoring them, or will you wake up before it's too late? Stay with me, because what comes next could change your life forever. If you're still here, if you're still listening, it's because something inside you knows that this message is for you. Maybe you can't explain it, maybe it's just a feeling, but deep down, your spirit recognizes that this is not just another video, not just another moment passing by. This is a warning, a wake-up call, a chance to open your eyes before it's too late. And now, I need you to listen closely, because there are 3 clear signs that a soul is moving toward condemnation. 3 dangerous signs that, if ignored, can lead a person so far from God that they may never find their way back. These signs don't always come with alarms. They don't always feel obvious. In fact, sometimes they feel normal, comfortable even. That's why they're so dangerous. But today, I'm going to reveal them to you, and as you hear them, I want you to ask yourself, do I see these signs in my own life? The first sign is distancing from faith. This is one of the most subtle yet most dangerous signs. It doesn't happen all at once. No one wakes up one day and just decides to walk away from God. It's gradual. It's small choices, little compromises, a slow drift that goes almost unnoticed until one day you wake up and realize you don't feel God the way you used to. Maybe you felt this. Maybe your prayers feel empty, like you're just speaking into the air. Maybe you don't feel that same fire you once had, that hunger to be in God's presence. Maybe reading the Word feels like a chore instead of a desire. Or maybe you've even caught yourself thinking, does any of this really matter? Let me tell you, this is exactly how the enemy works. He doesn't need to pull you into sin overnight. He just needs to make you comfortable without God. He just needs to convince you that skipping prayer here and there isn't a big deal. That not reading the Bible for a few days won't change anything. That church is optional. That you can believe in God without actually seeking Him. And history is full of examples of people who once walked with God, but let themselves drift. Look at Solomon. He had wisdom beyond anyone else. He was blessed beyond measure. And yet, let his heart be pulled away. He started making compromises, started allowing things into his life that God had warned against. And in the end, his heart was divided. He still knew God, but he no longer lived for Him. That's the danger. Because the longer you stay distant, the harder it becomes to find your way back. The more comfortable you get without prayer, the more your heart starts to harden. And that's exactly what the enemy wants. But listen to me, there is hope. If you feel distant from God, it doesn't mean He has abandoned you. It means He is calling you back. Right now in this moment, He is reaching for you, reminding you that it's not too late. Your faith can be restored. Your fire can burn again. But you have to take that step. You have to choose to return. Because the longer you wait, the harder it gets. The second sign is ignoring God's call. God speaks in many ways. Through dreams, through people, through moments that shake you, moments that make you stop and think. But the question is, are you listening? Or have you been ignoring Him? Think about this. How many times have you felt something deep in your spirit, a conviction, a nudge, a warning, but you brushed it off? How many times have you known, deep down, that God was telling you to change something, to let go of something, to walk away from something, but you didn't? This is dangerous, because every time you ignore His voice, your heart becomes a little more resistant. Every time you turn away from His call, you become a little more comfortable in your own way. Look at Pharaoh. God sent Moses to him with a clear message, "Let my people go." But Pharaoh's heart was hard. He ignored the warnings. He saw miracle after miracle, sign after sign, and yet he refused to listen. And what happened? He faced destruction. Not because God didn't give him a chance, but because he rejected it. And now I need to ask you, how many chances has God given you? How many moments has He put in your life to wake you up, to bring you back, to show you that you're on the wrong path? And how many times have you ignored them? God is patient, but there comes a point when He steps back, when He allows people to walk in the direction they've chosen. And that is a terrifying place to be. But hear me, if you're feeling this message right now, if your heart is racing, if something inside you is stirring, that means God is still calling you. That means there is still time, but you have to respond. You have to stop ignoring Him before your heart becomes too hardened to hear Him anymore. And finally, the third sign is attachment to the world. This is perhaps the most common trap. Because the world is loud, it is tempting. It promises success, pleasure, power, comfort. And so many people chase these things, thinking that if they just have more money, more recognition, more status, they'll finally feel fulfilled. But the truth is, none of it will ever be enough. Jesus said it plainly. What does it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his soul? And yet, so many people are selling their souls for things that will not last. They sacrifice their faith for a career. They put their relationship with God on hold because they're too busy chasing wealth. They compromise their values for power, for approval, for temporary happiness. But let me tell you, everything in this world will pass away. Every dollar, every achievement, every moment of earthly pleasure, it will all fade. And in the end, the only thing that will matter is where your soul stands. But here's the good news: if you still feel that pull inside you, if you still have a desire to change, if you still feel God calling you, it means there is hope. It means you haven't gone too far. It means you still have a chance to turn back before it's too late. So now you have a choice. You can ignore these signs. You can tell yourself that none of this applies to you, or you can wake up. You can recognize that God is speaking to you right now, through this very moment. Because let me tell you, if you see these signs in your life, it's not too late. But if you ignore them, one day it might be . So what will you do? Will you keep living as if nothing is happening? Or will you answer the call before it's too late? Stay with me, because what comes next will change everything. If you've made it this far, it means something inside you is awake. Something in your soul is stirring. And now I need you to be honest with yourself. Take a deep breath, clear your mind for just a moment, and ask yourself, do you recognize any of these signs in your life? Do you feel the distance growing between you and God? Have you been ignoring the quiet whispers, the gentle warnings, the moments when you knew He was calling you, but you turned away? Have you been holding on too tightly to the things of this world, chasing after what will not last while your soul cries out for something more? Because if even one of these signs is present in your life, this is not the time to panic. This is not the time to let fear or guilt take over. No, this is the moment to act. This is the moment to fight for your soul. Because listen to me, God did not bring you here to condemn you. He did not bring you to this message to shame you. He brought you here to save you, to wake you up before it's too late, to give you a chance to turn things around before you drift so far that you can't find your way back. And that's why you cannot ignore this moment. You cannot just listen to these words, feel something stir in your heart, and then go back to life as usual. You have to do something about it. You have to make a decision. Because now that you know, now that you see the signs, you are responsible for what happens next. So here's what I need you to do. In the next 7 days, I want you to make a commitment to seek God like never before. Every day, I want you to set aside time, just you and Him. No distractions, no excuses. Get on your knees if you have to. Close your eyes, open your heart, and pray. Ask Him to show you the truth about your soul. Ask Him to reveal the areas where you've been blind, where you've been drifting, where you've been ignoring His voice. And don't just pray, listen. Be still. Be open. Let Him speak. And I promise you this, if you do this sincerely, if you come before Him with a heart that truly wants to change, He will answer you. He will open your eyes. He will show you what you need to see. But you have to be willing to face it, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it challenges you, even if it means letting go of things you've been holding onto for too long. Because the truth is, nothing in this world is worth losing your soul. And when you see Him move, because I believe you will, I want you to come back here. I want you to testify. Share what God revealed to you. Share how He spoke to you. Let others see that when you seek Him, He responds. Because your testimony might be the very thing that wakes someone else up. This is your moment. Your chance to turn things around before it's too late. So don't ignore it. Don't brush it off. Don't let this be just another message you hear and forget. Let it be the turning point. Let it be the moment when everything changes. No, listen to me. No matter how far you've gone, no matter how distant you feel, no matter how many times you've ignored the signs, God's love for you has never changed. His mercy is greater than your mistakes. His grace is stronger than your failures. And as long as you have breath in your lungs, you have a chance to turn back. You have a chance to rewrite your story. Maybe you've been carrying guilt, feeling like it's too late for you. Maybe you've been believing the lie that you're too broken, too lost, too far gone. But hear me, God is not done with you. If He was, you wouldn't be here right now, listening to this message. The fact that you are still here, the fact that something in your heart is still fighting, still searching, still hoping, that means there is still a way back. But you have to take it. You have to choose it. Because no one can do it for you. You have to decide that today is the day you stop running, the day you stop ignoring the signs, the day you stop pretending that you have all the time in the world. Because the truth is, none of us know how much time we have. None of us know when our last chance will come. But we do know that right now, in this moment, God is reaching for you. So I want you to declare it now. Type it in the comments. Say it out loud. God is my Savior. Let it be a statement of faith, a declaration of truth, a turning point in your life. Don't just think it, say it. Because when you speak it, when you declare it, you activate something in the spiritual realm. You align yourself with God's will. You step into His grace. And one more thing, if this message touched your heart, if it opened your eyes, if it made you realize something you hadn't seen before, don't keep it to yourself. Share it. Someone you know needs to hear this. Someone you love is caught in the same battle, struggling with the same signs. Don't wait until it's too late. Send it now. Be the voice that wakes them up before it's too late. This is not just another message. This is a call to action, a call to revival. A call to come back to the only one who can truly save. So, don't ignore it. Don't delay. Step into the light. Step into grace. And watch what God will do in your life. Go. Seek Him, listen, and watch what happens.